Saludos a todos y bienvenidos a mi canal. En este nuevo capítulo nos vamos a encontrar otra vez con otro militar que quiere decir todos los datos que tiene y cuáles son las conclusiones que saca sobre la forma de la Tierra. Una persona que conoce perfectamente la física electrónica y la física aeronáutica, entre otros, aparte de ser piloto de helicóptero. Vamos a ver qué es lo que tiene que decir en este nuevo capítulo.
Astronauts to the moon.
I woke up to the truth of the flat Earth, shape of the Earth, as an engineer and a pilot. So I've studied engineering, physics, three different ways: basic physics, electric physics, and construction physics. And also as a pilot, as a rotary wing pilot, that is helicopter pilot, I studied aeronautical physics as well. So I can cover and discuss just about any factor of flat Earth. Not that I'm any smarter than anybody else, but I've studied quite a bit of factors that analyze shape and motion of just about any object. That's physics, also aeronautical physics, and principles of flight. I can tell you this: airplanes fly straight and level. That's even an aviation term, straight and level. Airplanes will fly for hours at the same altitude, never dipping their nose down to follow the curve of the Earth. An aircraft on a 12-hour or even 18-hour flight from Portland, Oregon to Seoul, Korea, that would have that aircraft starting at one point and then flying so far around the Earth that it's flying downwards with its nose vertically downwards, and then starting to go around the curve of the Earth so that the airplane is now flying upside down. Would have to make that kind of a flight path on a globe, it's such an absurdity. So that being said, I come into the true shape of the Earth, the flat Earth, as a skeptic, like most anyone else. I'll tell you my story. My buddy told me about this. He said, "Rob, you need to learn about the ice ring. You need to learn that the Earth doesn't move. This globe is garbage." And I laughed at him. I said, "Are you kidding me? I'm not even gonna look into that." And he said, "That's fine." He said, "That's fine. You don't have to look into flat Earth. But until you do," he said, "until you do look into flat Earth, you will remain a slave of the Matrix." And interestingly enough, at this point, this was more or less November, December 2015, I had already mentally resigned from the U.S. military for 3 years. I had already resigned because of Benghazi. I realized, and I saw for myself, I'd been working with U.S. as an Army officer, working for State Department for a good 10 years. And so what I did, I turned my physics awareness, I turned my studies into analysis of the shape of the Earth.
Hasta aquí todo correcto y todo muy interesante. Nos dice dónde ha trabajado, de qué ha trabajado, cuáles son sus especialidades y cómo ha llegado a este movimiento. Y obviamente, como muchos de nosotros, también ha llegado pues un poco al principio queriendo negarlo todo. Pero a continuación vamos a ver cuáles son los datos desde su experiencia, desde trabajar con el radar, para llegar a la conclusión de que la Tierra es físicamente plana, al menos a nivel de mar.
Radar is simply another form of radio transmission. Radio includes anything within the range of the electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic spectrum, also known as light. Radio is the transmission of light, whether it's visible light or radio waves which are not visible. When it comes to radio transmissions, there must be a transmitter and a receiver. There can be a reflector or a transmittal unit along the way. However, in the end, there's got to be at least transmitter and a receiver. And in the case of radar, radar transmits a signal and it bounces off a reflector and then it comes back to the receiving station. Or it can go to other stations if they're set up in the network properly. Long story short, radar emits a signal, it bounces off something, and then it returns to a receiving unit, and the receiving unit maps that reflection accordingly. If there is no reflector, then there's no return signal, and then the object does not show up on the radar. For example, it's off the screen. Notice, there's no curving around anything. It goes out in a straight line. Radio signals always travel in a straight line. So the transmitter sends the signal out to the target, bounces off, and it comes back in a straight line. Radar cannot travel over the curve, and hence, radar is dependent on line of sight, direct beam from the transmission to the target. It reflects and it comes straight back. There is no curving around anything. Thus is radar.
Aquí todos los detalles que ha dicho son muy interesantes, básicamente porque lo que está diciendo es que para que un radar indique la localización de un objeto, primero necesita el rebote de esa señal que está emitiendo. Y además esa señal va en línea recta, digámoslo así, no puede coger esa señal e ir girando debajo de una curva. Pero a continuación da otro detalle también interesante, dado que indica que tiene más de 1000 horas de experiencia de vuelo.
I've done many of them personally. I've flown more than 1,070 hours in both helicopters and airplanes, and I will tell you factually that aircraft meet their checkpoints, they take off, they meet their checkpoints, and they land exactly as planned on a flat stationary map. No pilot, I say again, no pilot has ever accommodated for the rotation of the Earth when planning flights and takeoff to checkpoints along the way, and then landing. Pilots can plan so well that they can take off and land hundreds of miles away down to within 30 seconds of their planning, because the Earth simply does not rotate.
Y si bien aquí nos está indicando lo que muchos de nosotros ya sabemos, que ningún tipo de vuelo toma en cuenta ningún tipo de curvatura, que es obvio. Imagínate por un momento cuánto tiempo tarda en hacer 50 kilómetros un avión. Debería de tomar en cuenta y tumbar el morro del propio avión hacia abajo para estar a nivel con esos 200 metros de curvatura en 50 kilómetros que debe de tener ese avión, que lo consigue en básicamente nada, un instante. Esos 200 metros no son tomados en cuenta. Está volando perfectamente en línea recta. Pero vamos a volver al tema del radar. Un tema que me interesa un poco más dentro de todo este vídeo. Porque lo que vamos a ver a continuación es que tenemos un archivo desclasificado llamado The Extension of a Finitely Conducting Earth Image Theory Results to any range. Y todo esto es by Defense of Technical Information Center, básicamente del Departamento de Defensa, en el cual se ve que está trabajando obviamente sobre un caso de tierra plana. O sea, todos estos datos en los cuales están trabajando todas estas antenas es sobre una tierra plana. En ningún momento están tomando en cuenta ningún tipo de dato sobre ningún tipo de curvatura. Ni para aviones, ni para antenas, ni obviamente tampoco para radares. Dicho esto, espero que os haya gustado el vídeo y esperad el siguiente. Un saludo, un abrazo y recordad suscribiros. Un saludo.